Quite a look back at Hurricane Hazel. Glad you could join us this evening. I'm meteorologist Nicole Karkic. We're seeing heavy amounts of rain at this point across the greater Toronto region, just depending on where you are. At this point, we're seeing heavy rain towards Toronto, up towards Richmond Hill, Vaughan as well. Frequent lightning strikes. You could see embedded hail at this point. And unfortunately, we are getting reports of localized flooding. I was just on Twitter, people saying their basements have flooded because we're getting those thunderstorms. So not everyone getting hit with the hard rain, but certainly across the GTA. This evening, temperature-wise, Hamilton's at 13 degrees. Friday morning, Toronto 13. We're going to see the rain winding down by midnight. And up towards Cottage Country, the rain will still linger around as this low is just retrograding through the area. Take a look at Guelph from earlier today as we get closer to winter. Now, here's a look at our rainfall forecast for you. Now, it says under 10 millimeters here across southern Ontario. However, because we have thunderstorms pushing through, these amounts for anywhere that's seeing the thunderstorms could be 40 to 50 millimeters of rain. And that does include downtown Toronto, which is getting hit very hard right now with the potential of localized flooding. Up towards Sudbury, 25 to 40 millimeters of rain, and still quite wet towards the east, moving towards southern Quebec. Now this low, it does start to wind down. The rain, as I mentioned, will die down through the overnight, waking up to a break. But by the afternoon tomorrow, there is a risk again of seeing some showers. And then for the weekend, we're setting up with some northwesterly winds. As you can see those arrows setting up. It's going to be windy on Saturday. And if you're in Cottage Country, we are going to see lake effect showers. So just an unsettled pattern for the next couple of days. Temperatures also cooling down. Look at Sunday, 8 degrees. So a far cry from where we were earlier this week. Friday's still quite mild at 17. Saturday will be 11 and Sunday's 8, and then we roll into some wet weather to start off next week. For Hamilton, we're looking at a similar pattern. There's that Sunday, the cool day. It'll be crisp and very fall-like outside. Now, if you're seeing localized flooding at this point, be careful. Temperatures have been quite mild into the afternoon and still mild this evening, but the big problem we're seeing at this point is the copious amounts of rain falling across the greater Toronto region. Now, places like Toronto up towards Vaughan, Richmond Hill, King City, we're getting reports of people saying their basements are flooded. You definitely have to clean the gutters of your roofs because we're getting a lot of rain at this point. Barrie's 13, Pembroke is 16, and we're still going to get quite a bit of rain in northern Ontario. Earlier this week, Sudbury saw 60 millimeters of rain. We're adding on another 40 into Saturday. And while this says under 10 millimeters of rain, if you live in Toronto, you're saying, definitely I'm seeing more than that. And that is possible with thunderstorms because we're getting thunderstorms passing through, bringing possibly, for Toronto, 40 to 50 millimeters of rain. And that could extend up to Vaughan, Richmond Hill, where we're getting people saying that the roads are flooded and we're getting some ponding too. Taking a look at the radar right here, you can see it's this blob right here on the radar, the reds and the yellows where the heavy amounts of rain are falling. We could get embedded hail with this as well too. It's going to pass through quite quickly, but if you're traveling along the 400 highway series at this point in that vicinity, it's going to be a tough drive. Coming up, Kim McDonald takes us around the world in 60 seconds. Thanks for joining us. I'm meteorologist Nicole Karkic. Hot off the press, I just got this special weather statement from one of our other meteorologists here at the Weather Network. There is a special weather statement for the city of Toronto. We have Vaughan included, Richmond Hill, Pickering, Oshawa, Markham, and southern Durham region for the potential of 40 millimeters of rain. And that's because we're seeing some embedded thunderstorms passing through these cities at this point. So you can see traveling along Highway 401 or 400 at this point around Toronto, the downtown core, headed towards Scarborough. It's going to be a very messy drive. You might want to go to the side of the road or slow down. Don't go outside if you don't have to at this point. Now, we are forecasting under 10 millimeters of rain, generally speaking, here across southern Ontario, but that's for places that aren't seeing those strong thunderstorms. We've mentioned locally higher amounts where the thunderstorms are occurring, and up towards Cottage Country, 10 to 25 millimeters is possible. This takes us into Saturday morning because for tomorrow, we're still going to see some rain showers as this low just retrogrades around, and we're going to see some strong winds picking up as this front makes its way through. And by the weekend, much cooler temperatures as well. I want to point out that if you're going to be in Toronto on Saturday or Cottage Country or Oakville or Hamilton, we do have some northwest winds setting up. So we're going to see winds across the GTA sustained at about 25 kilometers an hour. If you're in Cottage Country, gusts could be about 40 or 50, so boating is going to be tough, and it's going to be a little bit unsettled and wet. Take a look at this beautiful image. The strong winds coming through on Saturday. You're going to see even more more leaves coming down in your neighborhood, and also eventually they'll all be gone. Now for Friday morning, we're waking up to 13 degrees in Toronto. This rain will wind down after midnight. We're definitely seeing a clearing trend, and Barrie 11 degrees for Friday morning, but still quite a bit wet. Right now, we're looking at the best videos from this week as Kim McDonald takes us around the world in 60 seconds. It's pouring in parts of southern Ontario. We're taking a look at the radar right here, and it's anywhere that's red or yellow or even the dark green where we're seeing heavy amounts of rain. That does include you in the city of Toronto, the downtown core. I've had reports of people saying their houses or basements are flooded. And as we look towards Scarborough, it's headed your way. If you're traveling along the 400 or the 401, it's going to be a tough drive. We do have a special weather statement in place from Environment Canada. It includes the city of Toronto, Vaughan, Pickering, Richmond Hill, Oshawa, Markham, and southern Durham region for the potential of 40 millimeters of rain with this passing through. Now, as you can see, Guelph seeing some spotty showers at this point, Vineland as well. But overall, this is just centered across parts of the GTA where you're going to see locally heavier amounts because there's thunderstorms. Even not out of the question to get some embedded hail, and there's been reports of frequent lightning strikes as well. In through cottage country, north of Parry Sound, we've got 10 to 25 millimeters of rain taking us into Saturday morning. And we're also going to be seeing some rain showers tomorrow afternoon if you're going to be in Toronto. Just also some northwest winds setting up for the weekend that will yield some lake effect showers. In Guelph, usually we're closer to 13, even 12 for this time of year, but we are going to cool down as the weekend approaches. For Friday morning, Toronto's 13 degrees, Hamilton's 11, Barrie will be 11, and we're still seeing the rain showers, as you can see, from Barrie north up towards North Bay, east towards Kingston, and by the afternoon, Toronto does have a slight chance of seeing showers once again, this time likely to be under 5 millimeters of rain. Well, speaking of flooding rains, let's count down the top 5 Canadian floods. There's a rainfall warning now in place through southern Ontario. It includes the city of Toronto. The downtown core has been getting way too much rain tonight. Localized flooding, not out of the question. And from what I understand, the TTC is having some problems. So if you're planning on going out by TTC, you could get a little stalled on that travel. Towards Scarborough, Pickering, Oshawa, Markham as well, all included in this rainfall warning. And Environment Canada is suggesting we could get 50 millimeters of rain tonight. That's it, just tonight, and then it winds down. So a lot of rain in a very short period of time, not good for the potential of flooding. If you're traveling along Highway 400 tonight, it's going to be pretty bad at this point, and east along the 401 towards Scarborough and Pickering, that's where the bulk of this rainfall is at this point. The reason we're seeing such heavy amounts is we've got embedded thunderstorms with this system making its way through. Notice, though, the radar returns has got this bulk of the rainfall right here. But other areas are free and clear. Guelph, just maybe some cloud cover at this point. Kitchener, Waterloo looking good. You saw some showers earlier today, but at this point, the heaviest rain definitely is centered right here where the rainfall warning is. Now, we put this map together telling you how much rain we could see into Saturday morning. The thing is, I know this says under 10 millimeters of rain, but that's because with the thunderstorms, the amounts can go up, and that's exactly what we're getting for Toronto, for Vaughan, for Pickering, for Scarborough too. Now through to Saturday, north of Parry Sound, we're getting 10 to 25 millimeters of rain. It's also going to be a windy weekend. Now tomorrow afternoon, you are going to see a chance of showers again across the greater Toronto region, likely not as heavy as today. We're not looking at the threat for thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon, but what we do see for Saturday is some northwest winds setting up. That's what that arrow is indicating. So it could cause some lake effect showers along the shores of Huron, Georgian Bay. If you're headed to cottage country, it's going to be some bad boating on the waters there with winds sustained up to 30 kilometers an hour. Toronto will also see some strong winds as well for Saturday. Friday morning in Toronto, 13 degrees. Now the science behind rainfall warnings. Breeze, and you can see that gentleman. Well, once you get wet, you just can't get any wetter at a certain point. Glad you could join us. I'm meteorologist Nicole Karkic. If you're in the city of Toronto at this point, we're seeing a lot of rain, flooding rain, so much so that the TTC is having issues. It's bypassing Lawrence Station. I've heard reports of people saying on Twitter that there are certain roadways that is completely impassable because of the rain that's coming down so hard. That's included in a rainfall warning. Markham's included, Pickering, over towards Scarborough and Oshawa too. We could get up to 50 millimeters of of rain tonight alone because of these thunderstorms that are passing through, bringing some frequent lightning strikes, heavy amounts of rain, and the potential for small-sized hail. So don't be surprised if you see that too. It's really shifted out of Toronto and Vaughan. Vaughan's still a little bit heavy at this point, but definitely towards Scarborough, Pickering, Whitby. That is the next area it's shifting towards. So traveling along the 401 wouldn't be the best idea to do at this point. It is going to move through rather quickly, and overnight tonight it is clearing out. Now, generally speaking, across southern Ontario, we're seeing under 10 millimeters of rain, but of course, with those thunderstorms, that amount goes up. So we've written locally higher in thunderstorms. Now through to Saturday morning, likely Ottawa is going to get under 10 millimeters, up through Cottage Country, 10 to 25 millimeters of rain. And here's why. This low is just starting to retrograde, and it's still moving up some rain showers towards Sudbury and Cottage Country north of Parry Sound. And tomorrow afternoon, we have a slight chance of showers, not looking at it being as severe as today. And then northwest winds do set up for our Saturday. It's going to be very strong winds. Well, here's more on the topic of flooding with urban flash flooding. Thanks for joining us. I'm meteorologist Nicole Karkic. We're looking at heavy amounts of rain pounding parts of the GTA. City of Toronto starting to clear out for you, but it's definitely headed towards Scarborough, Pickering, east towards Whitby. Along the 401, it's definitely a bad drive at this point. Anywhere on the radar that you see the yellows and reds, that's indicating heavy amounts of rain, but also the potential for some thunderstorms. Reports of lightning strikes as this is passing through, and up towards Vaughan, people have reported flooded streets. Also, the TTC has a couple of tweets I want to rhyme off for you. If you're expecting to go out at the Lawrence station, they're completely bypassing it because it's too flooded. 512 St. Clair route turning back eastbound at St. Clair West station due to Yonge Street flooding. So a lot going on. Definitely this has been a problem for the main city centers tonight. Now, this rainfall warning that Environment Canada has issued for Toronto, Scarborough, Pickering, Oshawa 2 indicates that we could see up to 50 millimeters of rain. And this is just tonight. So that's why we're seeing the flooding rains out there. So if you have basements that are prone to flooding, take precautions now. Not everyone is getting the heavy amounts of rain towards Hamilton, St. Catharines, under 10 millimeters. This takes us into Saturday morning. Through Cottage Country as well, we're seeing 10 to 25 millimeters of rain into Saturday. But this will also include what happens tomorrow, because the rain doesn't just stop tonight. We have a bit of a break, but then it starts to pick up again tomorrow afternoon. We got that cloud cover moving in Friday afternoon across the GTA. It looks to be less rain than we're seeing tonight, under 5 millimeters, just some drizzle. But through Cottage Country, Barrie even, it's going to be a bit wetter for you. And then for the weekend, number one, we've got strong winds. Also, a cold front swinging through is cooling down our temperatures, and lake effect showers with these northwesterly winds. For the shores of Georgian Bay and Lake Huron on Saturday, winds are going to be sustained at about 25 to 30 kilometers an hour. Now, Friday morning in Toronto, 13 degrees. Barrie will be 11. Owen Sound, 11. Notice that wet weather. Barrie towards North Bay, east towards Kingston. And this evening, fairly mild. Toronto sitting at 15 degrees. Usually our daytime high for this time of year is 13. So at the evening, when the sun's gone down and we're already still at 15, it's definitely above average. Big story in Atlantic Canada is Hurricane Gonzalo. We'll have more on that in Force of Nature Extended. But right now, we have science behind the weather, and we'll explain why rain has that distinct smell. Thanks for joining us this evening. I'm meteorologist Nicole Karkic. We still have a rainfall warning in place as issued by Environment Canada in southern Ontario. Note, Toronto's included. We also have Vaughan, Richmond Hill, Pickering, Oshawa, Southern Durham region, Markham 2. This is for the potential of 50 millimeters of rain anywhere listed in green, because we're seeing thunderstorms moving through this evening. Now, for the downtown core of Toronto, we're definitely seeing things lessen in terms of the rainfall rates, but it's definitely shifted east. If you're traveling along the 401 towards Scarborough, Pickering, headed towards Whitby, it definitely will be a tough drive out there at this point. It will let up eventually, but don't be surprised if you look outside and you're seeing some frequent lightning strikes. Is the only station that has flooding. The TTC is completely bypassing Lawrence Station. So just too much rain in a short period of time. That's what's going on, and it's because of the thunderstorms. Now, locally higher amounts in thunderstorms, that's what can always happen. But generally speaking, into Saturday morning, we're seeing under 10 millimeters of rain across southern Ontario. And the rain you're seeing right now will die down through the overnight. After midnight, definitely it will be less intense and it will be clearing out too. Now for the weekend, we do have some rainfall moving through cottage country. By Saturday morning, we're going to be seeing the rain showers continuing through Parry Sound, even towards Muskoka and Barrie too. This is the low we're dealing with right now, which just starts to retrograde. It pulls north a bit and then brings in some showers once again towards the shores of Georgian Bay and Huron for tomorrow afternoon. And for Toronto, you could even see some showers tomorrow afternoon. Not going to be as heavy as tonight, likely. We're not looking at a big threat for thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon, so it will just be a little bit of drizzle tomorrow. And then for Saturday morning, cloud cover again, some northwesterly winds setting up some lake effect. And it'll be windy on Saturday, and it's colder into Sunday. Toronto on Sunday, your high 8 degrees. So the mild air, enjoy it while you can. Thanks for joining us. I'm meteorologist Nicole Karkic. Taking a look at the radar returns, some people are seeing flooding rains at this point, and it's definitely anywhere from the city of Toronto towards Vaughan, Richmond Hill, anything in the yellow. Seeing the heaviest rain at this point, so over Scarborough towards Pickering, and even Oshawa at this point is getting heavy amounts of rain. Now it is lessening from what we saw just an hour ago, but it is still pretty tough driving out there if you're traveling along the 401 or the 400 at this point. And also in Toronto, it started to move out, but it's left behind flooding on streets, as well as the TTC having some problems because of flooding. The TTC is diverting from St. Lawrence Station because of flooding, and St. Clair West has also had some issues. So definitely a bad travel night. Just too much rain in a short period of time. This is the rainfall warning currently in play. Toronto extending towards Oshawa, up to 50 millimeters just for tonight. And that's because we have thunderstorms. Very hard to forecast. We have been saying that generally an under 10 millimeters will fall across southern Ontario into Saturday morning. But we always mention that that amount can go up with thunderstorms. It could just bring one neighborhood 50 millimeters of rain and the one just next to it less. So that's how they work. As we look to cottage country north of Parry Sound, 10 to 25 millimeters of rain, and this takes us into Saturday morning. So this pesky low is still sticking around. We did see some peaks of sun earlier today, but we do have some cloud cover moving in for tomorrow afternoon. Chance of showers again, likely not as strong as tonight. And then for Sudbury, they're getting quite a bit more rain into the weekend. And this weekend, we do, for your Saturday at least, have some showers in the forecast, strong winds, and much cooler temperatures. So this week was an anomaly. It was quite mild. And for tomorrow morning, sitting at 13 degrees in Toronto, still quite mild. This evening, we're 15. Usually our average is 13 for the daytime high. Well, speaking of flooding rains, we're going to count down the top 5 floods. Thanks for joining us. I'm meteorologist Nicole Karkic. Still seeing some rainfall that's pretty heavy across southern Ontario. Anywhere in green is still included in a rainfall warning. That means Toronto, Markham, Scarborough, Oshawa, Pickering too. At this point, it's really moved out of the city of Toronto. The downtown core, what's left behind at this point is flooding rains, and it's caused problems for the TTC. At the Lawrence Station, buses aren't going through there. TTC trains not stopping there. Also, St. Clair West is having issues with just too much rain in a short period of time. So while that's lessened, problems traveling. And if you're traveling along the 401 towards Scarborough, Pickering, and Oshawa at this point, definitely going to see the heavy amounts of rain. Even the 400 towards areas near Vaughan, Richmond Hill, it's still going to be quite wet on the roads at this point. And people have been sending us photos and videos of the flooding rains. We have one right here, and you can see on this street that allow the city to drain the water. So at this point, we're looking at up to 50 millimeters of rain tonight, anywhere in the rainfall warning. Locally higher with thunderstorms. That's why we're seeing the large amount of rain tonight. But generally speaking, we've been saying under 10 millimeters of rain right into Saturday morning. North of Parry Sound, 10 to 25 millimeters. So it doesn't end tonight. Unfortunately, this low is retrograding, pulling a bit north towards Timmins and Sudbury. They're seeing quite a bit of rain in through the Nickel Belt tonight. And as for Toronto, while the rain stops tonight, and after midnight, it's really going to clear out for everyone. We do get some rain returning for the afternoon tomorrow. This round should be just a little bit of drizzle, under 5 millimeters of rain. We are not forecasting thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon to bring you the flooding rains. Now for Saturday, northwest winds do set up along the shores of Georgian Bay and Lake Huron. We're seeing very strong winds on Saturday and a cool down in temperatures. So this week has been mild and still through the overnight, sitting at 12 for Toronto, is mild for this time of year. Barrie will be 10 degrees, Kingston 13, St. Catharines 12, and for Friday morning, waking up to some peaks of sun across the GTA. Up towards Barrie, however, we are seeing some rain showers to start off your Friday morning, and by the afternoon, like I mentioned, we do have a chance of seeing showers returning. Now, the big story in Atlantic Canada is Hurricane Gonzalo. They've got one round of rain moving through into Saturday morning, and then they've got more with the landfalling hurricane Sunday. So if you're traveling to St. John's, it's definitely going to be an issue. Right now, the science behind rainfall warning right now.
All right, Nicole Karkic, meteorologist, joins us now to give us an idea of what's taking place online.
Well, Gary, been a lot of pictures filing in of people with the flooded streets, and unfortunately some cars trying to get through those flooded roads. Don't do that if you can avoid it. This is Heather. She says clean the leaves from storm drains, and that's a good point because this time of year we've got, of course, all the leaves coming down and it's going to clog them. Quite a bit more rainfall moving through across southern Ontario. For tonight, the forecast is up to 50 millimeters of rain, unfortunately. So in a very short period of time, too much rain. We've got science behind the weather coming up for you as well. Also, Gary's going to have more details on what's going on for viewers as we push towards Atlantic Canada. Our active weather watch continues. If you're just joining us, southern Ontario getting hit with thunderstorms that's produced localized flooding. As we take a look at what's happening on social media, lots of pictures like this. This is at Jane and Weston, where you can see completely flooded streets, cars trying to get by rain, and there's still more pushing through at this point. Right now, Gary Archibald is joining us with more details on the rainfall warning.
We can talk, but what about taking a look at actual pictures? Nicole Karkic, meteorologist, joins us now. Give us an idea of what Torontonians have been dealing with tonight.
Well, Gary, if people's basements are prone to flooding, they're probably dealing with the cleanup right now. A lot of people on the roads leaving their cars behind because they're completely submerged. This was sent to our website, theweathernetwork.com. Point has seen a few areas being dropped, including the city of Toronto, Vaughan, Richmond Hill, and Markham. But let's take you next to this shot, traveling through the streets. Has definitely not been a fun situation dealing with so much flooding. This is what it looks like at Lawrence Station. Lawrence and Bloor, you don't want to go there. Avoid it if you can tonight, and it's going to be closed right through the overnight because they're going to have to do a big cleanup. This person wading through the water trying to get home, I'm sure not happy. This another shot of people waiting in front of Lawrence Station, which has completely been shut down. Also, St. Clair West doesn't have buses going through the area as well. Now, speaking of active weather, it's moving east, and Gary has details on that. If you've got any video or photos, you can always upload them to our website, theweathernetwork.com. Glad you could join us. I'm meteorologist Nicole Karkic. As we look at the rainfall warning, it's dropping. That's the good news. City of Toronto has been dropped out. Pickering's still in. So too is Oshawa. The rain is losing a lot of its intensity at this point. That's certainly the good news, but it's left behind so much flooding. We've got some really captivating photos to show you of that with Michelle Mackey in a moment. But right now we'll talk about how much more rain we're going to get. Generally, it's under 10 millimeters, but with those thunderstorms, which we've seen tonight, those amounts could go up. And for the GTA, likely some areas looking at 50 millimeters alone tonight. So it's definitely been pretty epic. This low continues to pull north, retrograde a little bit. We have a break tomorrow morning in Toronto up towards Barrie. Still seeing some showers to start your morning off. But by the afternoon, if you're going to be in Toronto, even Hamilton, there is a slight risk of seeing some showers. And then into Saturday, cooler temperatures and northwest winds, which could bring some lake effect showers. Here's Michelle Mackey right now with what's going on social media. And Michelle, those pictures keep flooding in.
They really do, literally, actually.
That's right. Thanks so much, Michelle. So send us your photos and we'll try and get them on TV. Now, through to Saturday, as we look further east, there's rain moving towards the maritime provinces. We've got Fredericton seeing 25 to 40 millimeters, Halifax under 10, and Newfoundland getting in on this for Friday night into Saturday morning. Now, this rainfall is not Hurricane Gonzalo. That is coming Saturday overnight into Sunday. So this is just a front making its way through the area. So it's going to be a very wet couple of days. For St. John's, Newfoundland with Hurricane Gonzalo, we're looking at 25 to 40 millimeters, but locally that amount could go up. Very strong winds with this. And at this point, the forecast is saying that Gonzalo is not going to make a direct landfall, but brush past Cape Race, and it will move through fairly quickly, bringing lots of rain and, of course, wind. We'll have the latest on the ground with that, and also an update on the rainfall warnings moving through southern Ontario. Stay tuned.
And now, Nicole, what can you tell us with respects to what we've seen on social media, for example?
You know what, Gary, I think it's been a rough night for a couple people trying to travel on the TTC. This was captured earlier this evening, stuck in a mob of people at Eglinton Station. You can see throngs of people just waiting to get home. And now the good news is the City of Toronto has been dropped from the rainfall warning, but we still have Pickering included as well as the Durham region. Now the active weather is just shifting east. Here's Gary with more on that.
All right.
Our active weather watch continues, and we'll begin with some stunning photos from southern Ontario. Jaw-dropping photos, in fact. And another car completely submerged. I understand that these people have just left the cars to rest in this, and obviously you can't even drive through it. Send us your photos to @WeatherNetwork. Also, you can use the hashtag ONStorm. Then it'll be easier for us to aggregate those photos and put them on air and show everyone else what's going on. Here's Gary with more details on who's still seeing the rain.
We can talk, but what about taking a look at actual pictures?